Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna be showing you a piece of property that I own that I'm planning to build some houses on. And we're gonna get into not only an overview of the property, my plans for the property and what we plan on doing, but also I'm gonna talk about a few things that you absolutely must know before you buy a piece of land, because if you don't, it could cause some serious financial hardships. We're gonna get into all of that in this video. This thing is old. It was the original, homestead, I guess, in the area. There were no other neighborhoods around here at this time. All the surrounding neighborhoods were built in, I would say, roughly the 1960s and 1970s, but this house behind me here, this old farmhouse, has been here since 1883. And they originally owned, from what I understand, hundreds of acres on this hilltop where we are, where now it's down to 3 acres. That's how much land we have here. So we have a 3-bed, 2-bath house, 1,700 square feet, built in 1883, and it sits on 3 acres of land. So one of the first things that we need to look into when buying land is the actual zoning code for the specific property that you are buying or looking at buying. That is, if you live in an area where there is zoning code. I know there are some areas of the country where zoning is a little bit more lax. Where we do business in the Pacific Northwest, zoning tends to be a little bit tighter with more red tape, but you can't just buy a piece of property and expect to be able to do anything that you want with it. There are strict zoning codes that the city and the counties put in place that basically tells you what you can or cannot do with a specific piece of property. This particular property has a zoning on it of R10, which if you read into the zoning code, that means 1 house per 10,000 square feet of land. So we have 3 acres of land here. We obviously need to convert that into square feet. So 1 acre equals 43,560 square feet. If we multiply that times 3, because we have 3 acres here, that gives us roughly 130,000 square feet. So if we have 130,000 square feet of land, and the zoning code reads that, hey, we can have 1 dwelling per 10,000 square feet, that obviously equals 13 lots. So we'll end up with 13 lots that are 10,000 square feet each, roughly. Something that you do need to be careful with when reading through the zoning code, using this as an example, 1 house per 10,000 square feet, is that on the gross square footage or is that on the net square footage once the roads and street improvements are in? I've seen some counties and municipalities go off gross square footage, and then I've seen some go off net square footage. That can make a huge difference on how many lots you actually end up getting into your subdivision or whatever it is that you're doing. Make sure that you're looking into, hey, is this code based off net square footage or gross square footage of the land? And just to further clarify a bit on that point, it is a very crucial thing to understand. Gross square footage would be like we talked about, hey, there's 3 acres of land, that's 130,000 square feet. We'll let you put 13 houses on here. Obviously, the lot sizes are going to shrink down. There's a lot of square footage that's going to be taken up by the roads, sidewalks, things like that. If we're running a gross square footage, we can put 13 lots in here. If we were running a net square footage, meaning that after all the street improvements are done, the streets are in, the sidewalks are in, stormwater ponds are in and all that, and then if you have to extract the net square footage from there and still give a 10,000 square foot lot, obviously you'll have a lot less square footage to work with and you'll have a lot less lots at the end of the day. After all the street improvements and everything that needs to be done, you might lose 40% of your square footage to the different street improvements and development improvements that need to be made. So as you previously saw, there are a few structures existing on the property at the moment. We have the original homestead that was built in 1883, and then we also have a shop slash barn. I'm not quite sure when that was built, but it's in pretty good condition. Next, I'm just going to take you down to the back side of the land, because this is where a lot of the home sites are going to be. And this is also where another issue lies that you need to be careful of when you are buying land and doing any sort of development. So I'm just now getting to the back side of the property. And I don't know if you can tell in the video, but we've started to come down a pretty significant slope here, and it continues to go downhill the further we get back on the property. Now, where the issue lies is that of our 13 lots that we plan to get in here, probably around half of them are on the backside of the property, which, as you can see, we're heading down a pretty significant slope. The issue becomes our utilities that need to be gravity fed, such as sewer and stormwater. Being that the back of this property is so much lower than the front of it, we wouldn't be able to even place a house back here because we wouldn't be able to flow the sewer in the direction that it needs to go. It wouldn't gravity feed out to the main sewer line. If you didn't know this and you didn't walk the property and understand where the sewer lines are, what the grade levels are, and all this, you could be in a world of trouble. Now, we knew this going in, and we actually bought the neighboring parcel as well that's over this direction, and which allows us to gravity feed now through the neighbor's house. Well, we own it, but through our property, we can grant ourselves an easement, and it actually goes down to a different street than where the subdivision is going to be coming in on, which is up here. We're going to be putting in a sewer main and the stormwater to be heading down to this other side road here and giving access through the neighbor's property that we bought. If we didn't buy the neighbor's house and allow us access for utilities, we probably would only be able to get maybe half of the lots on here. So instead of getting 13, maybe we're getting like 7 lots, which with only 7 lots, we'd be going backwards really fast in this deal. So that's something that you really need to keep an eye on and make sure that, okay, 1, we already talked about zoning. 2, what's the slope of the land? Where are the nearest utilities? And that goes for, you know, power as well, but sewer is something where unless you're doing a massive subdivision where you can put in a pump station, it needs to be gravity fed. Otherwise, small subdivision like this, 13 lots, it'll never make sense to put in a pump station. So everything has to be gravity fed in order for it to pencil. A couple things to look into. Obviously, we found a way to still make the deal work through the neighboring parcel. But again, if you didn't know that, you could end up buying a piece of land where you're like, this is great, zoning checks out, I'm gonna put 13 lots on this thing. Next thing you know, you're only putting 7 because you don't have the proper slope and the proper grade to the land. So the next thing we're going to discuss is actually the horizontal work and what that costs. The horizontal work, at least how I describe it, is all the work to prep the land and get the lots basically subdivided up, get the roads in, all the street improvements, the grading of the lots, not digging out for foundation, but basically ready to sell those lots to a builder, or ready to actually just, if you're gonna build them yourself, ready to pull the permits and start going vertical. The cost of horizontal work has absolutely skyrocketed. I think most people would be absolutely shocked what the cost to do horizontal work these days is, if they ever even had an idea. 3, 4, 5 years ago, we would do horizontal work at roughly $40,000 to $50,000 per lot. I know, even that sounds like a lot, right? So if it's a 10-lot subdivision, we would be doing that for $40,000 to $50,000 per lot. So figure you'd have $400,000 to $500,000 in development costs. That's before you start going vertical with the house and before your building permits as well. So keep that in mind. So like I said, 3 to 5 years ago, we were doing these for $40,000 to $50,000 a lot, where now, today, on this job that we're doing right now, it's gonna be costing us anywhere from $85,000 to $95,000 per lot. It's like, I don't know, my mind is absolutely blown. It's insane. The horizontal work for this job is gonna run us around $1.15 to like $1.25 million to get the lots ready to go vertical. 13 lots at $1.2 million just in horizontal work. That does not include the purchase of the land, mind you, so keep that in mind. If you don't know that going in, and you're going in saying, oh wow, this is a great deal on land, the zoning is, you know, R10, like it is in this scenario, I can put 13 lots on this thing, oh man, this is a home run deal. Well, if you don't know your lot cost and you've never like bid that out before, you could get into some financial trouble real quick. Those are some things that you need to keep your mind on and be able to get your arms around those items. That's the cost for us in our area in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know lot costs or horizontal costs across the rest of the country. Where we're at, it's relatively expensive and whatnot, where there are some more developer-friendly areas than where we're at. Things are gonna start moving around here really, really quickly. There'll be excavators and earth movers on this site within the next few weeks. Start by getting the house demoed, but we got to get the shop over here demoed as well, start moving earth, start bringing in roads, all the street improvements and whatnot. So it's gonna happen really, really quickly. Guys, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can stay up to date on this project, get a real-time look at how development actually works, as well as any hurdles or anything that we come up against and we gotta overcome. If you wanna stay up to date on this project and other projects like it, make sure you subscribe. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye.